Right, welcome in, everyone. So we have Farouk. Thank you for being here, Marvin. Els, nice to see you all. So we have Farouk, who is a high performance coach for experts, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs that are super ambitious, just like you all, looking to level up not only their performance but optimize what's going on in their business and their life. And Farouk would absolutely be the best resource, which is why I've invited him to, come and speak, because I think this is really powerful. Oftentimes we take it for granted what is going on in our personal life and how all the plates that we're juggling, all of the things going on in our life, whether we're, making the money that we want to make, or if, our personal circumstances are in a situation that we want them to be, how all of that permeates into our business. And Farouk, he runs 3 businesses. He has children. He's a family guy just like me. And, he took time out of his day in order to talk with us. And I'm really excited, mainly because I've worked with Farouk in the past, a little over a year ago. He went through the coaching program that I was head of delivery for. And out of all of the 750-ish people that I have coached, Farouk is by far one of the main people who really stood out to me, because he didn't quit, he didn't stop. There were certain things that didn't quite work for him, and he found a way to navigate with all of the other obligations, other things going on for him. And so I feel like he is the best role model that can speak, whether your goal is, I want to make 20K a month, 50K, or 100K or more. Farouk walks his clients that he works with through all of the processes and the simple steps in order to avoid new strategies, new tactics, and get things working in a way that makes your life simple, whether it's trying to juggle family and business or whatever that looks like for you. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand the mic over to Farouk. Farouk, thank you so much, brother, for being here. Go ahead and you can take it away, and it should let you share your screen. Let me know if you have any issues, and anybody who has questions, we will definitely aim to have a Q&A toward the end of the session. So, whatever it is that's on your mind, either write it in your notebook or just go ahead and drop that question directly into the Zoom chat, and we'll get through it at the very end. All right. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Aiden, thank you very much. Welcome to everybody. And I really appreciate that introduction. And thank you for having me here. And the history of myself and Aiden, Aiden knows the story, was a bit challenging in the beginning. And I like the fact that you highlighted that I found a way. And that's what it's about. We have to find our way, find our sweet spot, and not give up. Try different things, tweak, fine tune, but the aim of the game is really to be consistent, to maintain that momentum, because that's kind of where the wheels come off for many, many people. Is that when we get stuck, we start jumping around looking for other solutions, when we should actually just kind of look at what we're doing ourselves. I've spoken to countless coaches and online business owners, and what comes out commonly is consistency. What comes out commonly is the feeling of being overwhelmed, and amongst a bunch of other things as well. And these are the 2 key things that always stands out for me, is that, if you can't be jumping around from strategy to strategy and then try and be consistent, because there's too many moving parts. How do you work out where you need to improve on your business when you're jumping around? And that's kind of where I would come in, is really to dissect. Because here's the thing, guys. We have a set of actions and we have a set of goals. And there's always a disconnect. There's always a disconnect. We're operating at this bottom level here, and you've got this high-end goal sitting on the top, and that relationship is just not reaching one another. So what you need to do is bring the two together so that you have complete line of sight. So I'm going to jump into, I got a few slides that I prepared. You guys are going to get a bit of a scoop because I am hosting a virtual event in about 2 weeks. So I'm giving you a bit of an early scoop. I try to bring the best of kind of the stuff that I thought would be useful, but you know, I speak from the heart. I speak from the heart. I speak from experience. And again, if you've got any questions, there will be some time to do a bit of a Q&A towards the end. I'll keep it nice and short and simple. And yeah, let's fire away. So I'm gonna just go ahead and share my screen and just make sure that I get the right one. Just make sure that I've got this right. Cool. You guys can just let me know if you are able to see that.
And just a quick request, if possible, Els and Marvin, if you're able, and in a safe space, if you're able to put your camera on, that would be wonderful. Just so Farouk can see your face. But hey,
that's
Els.
even better now.
Awesome.
Hello, Els. How are you doing?
Beautiful.
Hi, I'm doing fine.
Looking
Thank you.
wonderful. Okay, go ahead. Take it away, brother. Thank you so much.
All right. I get awesome stuff. So quickly, a little bit of, let me just hide these controls because they tend to, all right, perfect. All right. Everybody can see my screen. You should see High Performance Living on it. So why I named this company High Performance Living, just a little quick background, is because what we do should be a lifestyle. There shouldn't be a disconnect between our life and our business and fulfilling our purpose. They need to be symbiotic. There's always a connected relationship with that. So high performance living is really what it's all about. Okay. So, hey, Marvin, thanks for putting on your camera. I appreciate that. Okay. So optimize. So really what this is all about is to optimize your workflow for more impact flow. I actually used to call it optimize your workflow for more lead flow, but it's more about impacts, you know, because when we focus so much on this leads, we kind of get distracted on really what we're trying to achieve within our life's purpose. So a couple of growth rules. I want you to keep an open mind. Some of these things will probably challenge some of your beliefs. I want you to put on your growth mindset hat, engage and participate, because that really gives you a good experience. You've taken the time. I'm not quite sure where you guys are in the world. I know that it's pretty early for Aiden. I don't know if you guys are also in the US. It's kind of late afternoon for me here out in South Africa. And then, of course, we encourage one another and support one another. You know, that's really what makes this fun and interesting. Right. So why should you even listen to me? I'm going to keep this very brief and short, because I think it's important. I've started 3 businesses completely from scratch. High Performance Living is one of my newer businesses, which is going for 2 years. And Fit Evolution is a fitness business that I have as well. That's running for 3.5 years. And then I do a consultancy work as well for a few millionaires, 2 in particular, and they're also close friends of mine as well. They've got multiple businesses, and I consult for them on business development and some other areas within their business. So that's my family. So you can see that I am a real person. I'm a real guy. I've got 3 kids. They keep me busy. They stress me out, but I love them all to bits. All right, awesome stuff. So this is a little bit of all my success stories all jumbled up. I've got a whole bunch more, but a quick snapshot of the love and the things that I do. And in a nutshell, all of this really speaks to helping people overcome feeling overwhelmed, helping people overcome procrastination, helping people get into a space where they are focused on the right things more often, helping people get into a state of flow, because you want to enjoy what you want to do. You don't want to feel like it's contrived, like everything is forced and that you have to do this long ass to-do list and it's not pleasant and fun. And that's kind of the things that I do. And the methods are pretty simple. So a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about is very basic. But the sad reality is, even though it's so basic, most people struggle with it. And this really is to highlight that and to say, hey, listen, This is necessary because if you want to make a genuine impact using your talents, serving others, and whatever those reasons are, whatever your whys are, you got to do what's necessary. You got to do what's necessary to put yourself out there. Your omnipresence, call it make some noise, but you got to do that. Because I always, for many of my clients, when they join in and the first few conversations we have is, what have you done to demonstrate to your ideal client or clients who you are, what you do, how you do it, who you do it for, what are the methods, what kind of results, etc. I mean, your social media platform, if you forget about a website, but your social media platform, whether it's Facebook or whether it's Instagram, is your active live website. And you got to use it in that way to demonstrate your skills and communicate that effectively. And that all comes down to consistency. So let me move on to the next bit. So we always have this question, like, what does the top 1% achievers do differently? What is the secret to success? What is it? These questions get popped up a lot, right? And we've probably heard this multiple times, and we've seen this multiple times. Why do some succeed more and others don't? Why are some better at utilizing their time more effectively or more efficiently than others? These are some of the key questions that we ask ourselves or that we think about. And here are some of the answers. And this list could probably be added on. You guys could probably add on a few more. But I mean, it comes down to the skills of having a high growth mindset, willingness to be vulnerable, structure, proactive planners. They are proactive planners. They're impact focused. They've got a strong set of habits. It's all supporting the growth that they want to achieve. They set high standards for themselves, cut all the BS out of their lives and set the boundaries. They're consistent action takers, and they always see themselves as a student. Now, I could add on a whole bunch more onto this list, and I'm sure you guys would agree with me. Why do people fail? Fear of success, fear of rejection, fear of what others may think of you, fatigue, low energy, burnout, lack of courage. Habits is a big one for me. Because this is the action items, whether it's physically or mentally. These are the action stuff. And then the limiting beliefs, how they see themselves or how they perceive others seeing themselves. And I mean, that list goes on. All of these, and I mean, again, I could add on more to this list, but I've identified these as common denominators. And within each of these, you could really dig deep into each topic. All right. So what is the whole objective of all of this? The objective of all of this is to develop an ability to prioritize high-value tasks consistently so that you can have people to raise your hands. You want to be able to optimize your workflow for more lead flow so that you are able to build a 6 or 7-figure business. You want to develop a predictable high output system so that it eventually becomes autopilot. Because let me ask you a question. And you guys can answer this in the chat, right? You've got, and I'm talking about consistency now. You've got person A, and he spends on average maybe 1 hour every second day cultivating human connections, building relationships, versus person B, and this is pretty straightforward, consistently doing 2 hours a day cultivating human connections. Between person A and person B, who's the one that's going to stand a higher chance of making more of an impact and fulfilling his life purpose? A or B? B, right? Pretty obvious. the point I'm trying to make, guys, is that consistency is absolutely vital for success. Because when we're consistent in our behaviors, consistent in our actions, we'll be able to work out what requires improvement within our business. When you have too many moving parts, you can't work out where the kinks are, because we're jumping from one strategy to the next strategy to the next by not following a very simple framework. A lot of what's being taught in the industry, particularly within the high ticket space, the business coaches, sales, the marketing, copywriting, operations, and the admin components, a lot of those strategies that are being taught, whether we're using Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, they do work, and they work pretty well. But you got to find your sweet spot with that framework that suits your life's purpose, that fits in with your lifestyle and your personality. So you adapt that framework. And that's eventually what I got, is that I got access to the framework, but I was so stuck on that particular framework that I didn't figure out what I was supposed to do. And I kept knocking my head, but I didn't give up. And eventually I was like, oh, actually, you know what? I need to use this as a frame basis, but I don't have to use all the templates because it's not necessarily applicable to me and to my business and to my clients, etc. And that's kind of how things started changing for me. But I just kept on being consistent. Right. So you're the captain of the ship. You're in charge of everything. You're responsible for all the decisions, all the choices that you make or do not make. You are the leader. Whether you have a team of people or you don't have a team of people, and you're running your business all by yourself. This whole equation, and there's probably one or two others that can come in there, can make this whole experience quite overwhelming. Because you could find yourself one day busy with logos and faffing around, scrolling and procrastinating, and busy focusing on websites, and then you jump to another lead magnet and you download another PDF. You've already got 10 more on the same topic or a similar topic. All of that time is being lost. It's not focused. It's wasted effort. And that's what we're talking about here today. So being the captain of the ship means that you need to be able to be in a position to make good, high impact decisions. Being in the position to prioritize what is important. Forget the logos. You don't need the website. It's not important. You've got an active website already. Your Facebook profile, as an example, it's a live website. You can chop and change and put information on there every single day about your testimonials, about your methods, etc. Again, it comes down to how many reasons, and this means multiple reasons, have you given your ideal client or avatar an opportunity to consider what you have to offer. Does that make sense, guys? Can I get a hand raiser? All right, cool. You guys are still with me? All right, cool. So how do you reach your next level of abundant success? Now, I want to talk about human performance optimization. And I call it total human because we are made up of many different components that makes us tick. And the ability to bring those all together is really, for your overall performance, is really what human performance optimization is about. And let me touch on that, what it is. 5 common pillars, which involves your physical fitness. That's really the basis of high performance. That's your energy levels. That's how you show up every day. That's where you get to produce the happy endorphins through exercise. That's your ability to be able to deal with stress. And that moves into the next pillar, your mental well-being. How well do you deal with stress? How well are you able to manage it? Anxiety. Does it paralyze you to a point where you're not able to take action? Does it impact your ability to perform consistently? Then it moves on to your cognitive function, your brain power. Do you think clearly? Are you dealing with brain fog? Are you able to focus for long periods? Do you get distracted easily? What is your memory like? Where do you perform better? In the mornings? Do you perform better in the afternoons? Where are you most productive? And then sleep and recovery. There's over 5 decades of research about sleep. It's a topic that has been spoken about ad nauseum, but it is so vital. And I mean, all the high achievers, you talk about Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, you name it. These guys value this. That is why they do what they do. And that is why they're able to operate at that high levels, because they understand the importance of all of this. And all of this is you. And again, coming to my slide earlier, if you're the captain of the ship, then surely you need to make sure that you are on point first before you serve others. You can't serve others being broken. And then work-life balance. Where do you draw the line? Do you continue to work 12 hours a day at the expense of your relationships with your family? Do you just push the boundaries and then get to that stage of burnout and then resentment because you hate what you do, because it's really, you love what you do, but you hate it as well because it's just sucking the life out of you? Because at the end of the day, what's most important than anything, any material thing, is you and your family. So you got to balance the act. Now, whilst when you look at all of these things and you're like, okay, well, how do you bring this all together in a symbiotic fashion? Through a structured routine. Not so that you feel boxed in, but so that you have more control. Because at the end of the day, are you living your life or is your life living you? Which one is it? So you want to master really 6 things. Some of those things that I just spoke about in the previous slide ties in with this. Now, I'm not going to touch on all of these, but these are some of the things that I'm going to be talking about at my virtual events in a couple of weeks. But I'm going to touch on 2 things for the purposes of performance specifically, and that is productivity and people. But each of these, they are interconnected. Your purpose, that means you need to be super clear about what you do, who you do it for, why you do it, and ask yourself 7 times. You got to come up with 7 reasons why you do it. And then, of course, clarity is not something that you do once off. Clarity is an ongoing relationship. As you evolve, as you grow, you got to rethink a few things. You got to fine tune. Clarity in your business, clarity in your life, your relationships, clarity in the things that you eat, clarity about your routines, clarity about your overall performance. This clarity is a subject that just covers all aspects. Because when you're clear about what you need to do in all aspects of your life, it's easier because you know the direction. Psychology, your mind, mindfulness. How do you see yourself? How do you think and feel about yourself? Mindset, growth mindset, fixed mindset. And in my opinion, and you may have read this, but we're not entirely on both ends of the scale. We're not entirely either fixed or entirely growth. We sit in between the continuum of those two. So you want to work out where do you sit on that continuum, and how do you shift more to becoming a high growth individual, have a high growth mindset? What does it mean? That means your willingness to be vulnerable. That means your willingness to learn. That means your willingness to take action, be courageous, willing to adapt quickly, take the losses, take and get the learnings from it quickly, adapt, find ways to fill your gaps. I don't have all the answers for my business. I had a few gaps. Aiden played a big part of that in my life and helped me fill those gaps where I needed that help. And then from there, I grew And I moved on and I started evolving and I picked up a few more gaps. I work with a mindset coach and I'm also working with somebody that's helping with sales. Because this kind of sales is very different. If I can quickly digress, and I'm not talking about sales as in hardcore, high-pressure sales. I'm talking about sales where you demonstrate yourself as an authority. When my sales calls got analyzed, and the coach said to me, you come across as, you start off well as an authority, and then you come across as a nice guy. So that individual has come onto the call expecting you to demonstrate your authority by asking them the right questions to help them uncover their situation, and then by then offering them some value and a solution to help them overcome the problem. That was my gap. And I went in now and fixed that gap. Presence, charisma. How do you show up? Omnipresence. Are you an authority in the space? Again, how many reasons have you given me as your potential client to consider you to help me through your platform? Your physiology, I touched on it earlier, exercise, keeping healthy, your energy, mental energy, physical energy, spiritual energy, all of that. Productivity. You can't manage time. There's no such thing as time management. It's what you do with the time. It's effective use of the time. Because time keeps moving. So you can't manage it. But what you do in that available time will be the game changer. That will determine how fast or how slow you achieve your progress. So if you're going to spend 2-3 hours doing logos and websites and little PDF documents, as opposed to connecting with people, getting traffic to your space, adding on friends, putting out content. And again, income producing activities are split in two. There's present and there's future. So which one are you focusing on more of? Both, of course, but one requires more priority than the other one. And then people. So let me jump onto the next slide. Let me just move this out of the way. Guys, does this make sense so far? Are you with me? All right. Okay, great. I hope you're still excited and interested and it makes sense. All right, awesome stuff. I think we're going pretty smooth with time. Okay, people. Guys, this is absolutely vital. I'll tell you a quick story. One of the reasons I left my corporate job way back, a couple of years back, I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. It was a great job. There were great parts of it. I got to travel the world, I paid well, and I had the best of many things. But I left for two reasons. One was I had this itch and I always wanted to explore more because I always had it kind of, I don't like to describe it as hustle, but I had that hustle in me from a very young age. But one of the other reasons was that I really didn't enjoy the public speaking part of it. I had to do a lot of presentations to major media agencies because I used to look after big corporate accounts like the Unilevers and the KFCs and Procter & Gamble's of the world. And I used to stand up and make presentations. I didn't enjoy it. In fact, my mouth used to go dry and I hated it. And that was one of the reasons I left. But I came to love speaking. So when Aiden sent me this email, I was like, hey, no one, I can do more of this. Because I want to engage with people. And you got to ask yourself a few questions. You know, what skills do I need so that I'm able to effectively lead and serve people? Am I capable of influencing and convincing people to trust me, to purchase from me, to follow me, to invest in me, to endorse me? Am I setting a good example for my family to be a good role model? All of this comes down to being an authority in your space and demonstrating to people that they can actually come to you and say, hey, Marvin, you know what? I like what you said. Can we have a further chat? Because you've showed up and you've presented yourself as the person that can solve that individual's problem by being consistent and with your omnipresence. I touched on productivity, but again, just to highlight on a few things, you got to ask yourself, am I doing my life's purpose, or am I doing busy work? And again, busy work, logos, I keep coming back to it, but it's just, it baffles me, because we all have the same time in the day. Why spend it on things that does not move the needle? You know, what are we doing to be more productive so that we can do more of the things that makes more of an impact? What significant projects are you working on that you could really fast track and really make dedicated time? For me, as an example, I had a coaching session last night, and for myself, I need to improve my craft. I need to spend more time improving my craft. So I've given myself 90 days to read 4 books that I've read already, but not just to read it to absorb information, but to read it to understand it and to make practical notes and to use that information to help and serve others. Which means I need to dedicate more time. Because before I would just maybe half an hour, 45 minutes a day, and not every day. I need to do more of that. That for me is a major project. But what is that major project going to do for me? That major project is going to help me become that really highly skilled individual, that expert, because I've put in the time to master my craft. I've put in the time to build up my competency. So what's the secret of being a consistent action taker? A little bit of ketchup, you know, the secret sauce that everybody talks about. Sometimes I find it so funny, but I thought I'll just go with it. First secret is clarity on your performance strategy. I touched on it earlier in the beginning. Guys, your process goals, your behaviors, your habits that you do every single day, you got to look at that. And you got to say, am I doing busy work? Or am I doing my life's work? And I'd like you to do an exercise sometime over the next few days to really take stock, of by hour, from the time that you wake up till the time that you go to bed, in each hour, what are you doing? And categorize it. You get personal, you get business, and then you get unaccounted for. Very simple. Excel spreadsheet, and you put those 3 columns here and you list that. And you will find, I mean, for most of my clients, pretty scary exercise. Most people are not spending enough time on growing the business the right way. And they quickly came to that realization, oh shit, I'm wasting time. I'm really wasting time. I've got a little tool that I actually got from a little friend, John Whiting. Aiden, you know John Whiting or John Whiting. I was using a tool and he said, no, you can use my tool. And that when I used that tool a little while back, it really highlighted where I was losing money. Because you can put in the time, you can put in how much, you can put in the activities, how much time you spend on each activity, if it's business or personal, and whether it can be outsourced or whether, you know, it needs to be done by you, and how much money you want to make for that month. And it calculates how much time you're wasting and how much money you're losing. And it's quite an interesting one. So Aiden, I'm going to work on that thing. I'm going to send it to you. I don't know if you've got access to it, but I think I'll share it with you. And you guys can have a look at it. All right. Now, just coming back to clarity on your performance strategy versus your business strategy. The disconnect is always huge. You got to look at how much time you're spending in your business, and you got to look at what you want to achieve. So if you got 20K or 30K as a business goal, as your first milestone, you got to look at what am I doing to get there? How much time am I spending connecting with people? How much time am I cultivating human connections? What am I doing? Am I getting obsessed enough with connecting with people? Am I doing more for me to deserve 20 plus K? the reality is that we have to show up at a really high level. And sometimes that means pushing certain boundaries that really makes us fearful and scared. I mean, I did a virtual event earlier this year. It was the first time I've done something like that. I just committed and I was like, shit, what am I going to do now? What if nobody comes? I had 67 people that registered. And I'll be completely honest with you. 67 people registered. I had 15 people pitch up on the day and then it tapered off. But I was okay with it because I went all in. And I went all in for the experience. I didn't go all in for anything else. I'm busy doing my second one. I have no idea how that's going to turn out, but I don't care. I'm building up that muscle memory. That's what it's about. Because when it does go big, it goes big. And I'll be ready for it. So anyway, guys, so the big idea around this is alignment. Your process goals, what you do every single day by hour, needs to match up with your income goal or whatever that might be. Right. The second secret is a predictable high output system. You want to create a system that allows you to eventually do this on autopilot. You don't want to be thinking about things. You're wasting a lot of energy trying to figure out on the day what I must do. A to-do list is probably not the smartest thing entirely. I'm not saying it's the worst, but it's probably not the best. You don't want to wake up on the morning early and say, okay, I'm doing this, 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 this. You want to wake up knowing what the plan is. And I'll touch on that shortly and how you can bring that all together. You also want to look at your list of items and you want to identify, is this going to move the needle? Or is this just going to be busy work? You got to ask yourself that hard question. You got to call yourself out on your own BS because we easily get sucked into that. There's occasions that I have to quickly reel myself in. Hey, dude, you're scrolling on your phone. Then immediately I get up, I take my phone, I go stick it inside. Or the environment is just a bit noisy today. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave. I'm going to go and find a spot where it's a little bit more quiet so I can actually focus and get my work done. Because it derails your day. If you start in a haphazard fashion, you're going to end up in a haphazard fashion. You can't control chaos. The third one is optimization for long-term performance. Because you don't want to get fatigued. You don't want to get bored. You want to make sure you've got enough energy. You want to develop your mind. And as you move up the levels, you've made the 20K. Now the next one is 30K. And the next one is 40K. So what do? You just continue with the same habits. You optimize them. You improve them. You look at ways to leverage. Don't go work more hours. Find creative ways to grow to that number. Now you may experience maybe you experience some imposter syndrome through that stage. Or you reach a stage where you're stuck. What do I do now? How do I get from the 30 to the 50? What do I do there? Do you allow the fixed mindset and the ego to block you or to keep holding you back? Or do you say, right, let me speak to somebody that can help me fill that gap? So you keep optimizing your performance, you optimize your processes, change your mindset, tweak it, improve it, but keep working on it. Everybody still with me? All right. Okay, cool. Now, everything that we do is about customers. It's the lifeblood of our business. Bottom line, no customers, no business. You will close up shop and maybe it's worthwhile checking out the 9 to 5. Again, nothing wrong with 9 to 5. It's honest living. But the bottom line is that if you don't have any customers in your business, you might as well just curl up and maybe not die, but just take a moment. But again, now everything that we do, it's about our customers. All our actions comes to this because we want to serve people with our God-given talent, with our experiences, with our knowledge. That means there is a sequence of events that allows you to get there. That means you got to cultivate. And when I say cultivate, you got to set up your baseline. Your baseline is your workflow. That is your base that you start off with that allows you to cultivate. Then you communicate, which essentially means your life's purpose, how you do it, who you do it for, etc. And then collaborate. You collaborate with your clients. You're going to take him from point A to point B with your solution. Very simple process. We tend to overcomplicate it. I always say to my clients, there's really just two things that you need to focus on. One is yourself, to make sure that you can communicate the second part, which is your life's purpose. When you do that effectively, people will raise their hands, people will show interest, etc. I mean, there's so many people, if I just go into, nobody likes cold DMs, right? I was doing that in the beginning. I hated it. I struggled with it. I just couldn't figure out that whole communication part. But when I changed the focus to say, right, let me focus more on communicating about me, what I do, how I do it, etc. And people would start engaging and liking my stuff. It was a lot easier. I would then go and say, hey, thanks for engaging my post. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. And then I hope you have a great day. Boom, done. When somebody replies, I'd say, hey, thanks. Hope you're having a great week. By the way, I noticed that you into coaching, or I noticed that you're doing this, or whatever. And you need to just have a natural conversation. Because at the end of the day, somebody engaged in your post. Most likely it was something about the post that resonated with them, which means that it's of interest to them. And that is an opportunity for you to say, hi, you want to chat about this perhaps? But not in a very forced manner, in a very casual manner. Because again, you don't know what their situation is until you engage with them. That started feeling a lot more pleasant for me. And that's what allowed me to book five sales calls on average a week. And my average day, and I'll show you my calendar shortly, it's probably about 6 hours. And I'm still running 3 businesses in all of that. So you've seen this. It's simple, it's basic, but it's powerful. This is not meant to block you in. It's not meant to keep you stuck, like all boxy. It's meant to give you control. Because at the end of the day, who's in charge? It's your agenda, right? I mean, it's your life. It's your agenda. You dictate how it goes. So I follow and run my life according to this. First and foremost, morning power hour is about me. I fire up my engine, which is mind, body, soul. And again, I'm not telling you to wake up early in the morning to go and meditate, to journal and all of those things. I do some of those things because it works for me, because it fires up my mind. It fires me up for the day. It prepares me for the day. It's like starting the car's engine, let it idle for a little bit, let the engine warm up, and then boom, you go. That's the whole point of that. So you got to find whether it is meditation or whether it is journaling or whether it is visualization, but you got to find something that fires you up in the morning, that starts your engine up in the morning, so that you take on your day where you are in control, where you take on the day where you are highly focused and you're doing your life's work, that you're undistracted and that you are focused on the right things more often than not. So once you've done the power hour, you then go into deep work. We live in a distracted world. Everything is a distraction. So you got to focus. Now, whether that's in the morning for you or whether that's in the afternoon for you, but you got to find the time out of the day where you are highly focused, where you are highly energized, and you go all in, whether it's 3 hours or whether it's 4 hours, but you are going all in. And I'll give you an example. The things that I do, I'd work on a little bit of content. I generally do content every 2 weeks. So I don't do content every day, but I plan it every 2 weeks. I'll take 2 hours and I'll put all my content together, and if I get stuck, I even use ChatGPT lately as well. Whatever makes me faster, right? But it doesn't deviate from my core message in terms of what I want to do. I do a bit of videos as well, so I put out videos, reels, or whatever, and then I use, in some cases, if depending if the topic is pretty complicated, I use captions and I use a teleprompter. I'll give you all the secrets, because it's all about how do I use my time efficiently and effectively so that I can do more of the things that move the needle, right? And then I'm engaging in conversation. I'm going to send out a few friend requests to the people that I believe may be my ideal client, because I need to get traffic into my ecosystem. And I connect with people that commented on my post, etc., on my Facebook stories, boom, and we're having conversations. Next thing, I'm booking calls like clockwork. All the admin and coaching, I leave for the afternoon. That's my shallow work time. Does not require massive brain power. That's normally when the energy level starts tapering off. And then the last bit is to just wind down. Now, you can do this in many ways. Of course, you're going to wind down, you're going to hang a bit with family, you're going to spend some time with the kids, etc., and so on, if you have family and so on, cook, etc. Take a minute to switch off, have a hard stop. My hard stop is 5:45. 5:45 is my hard stop, then it's family time. Kids' homework, etc., all of those things. And then before I go to bed, I'll just take a few minutes, just like 10 minutes, just to look at a few things that I've achieved and what I haven't achieved. Because there are days that I don't achieve everything, because things happen in life. But you want to reflect on that, and you want to take note of it and have control of it, so that it doesn't just spiral out and get lost through the cracks. So this is a 4X performance system, simple. You can call it time blocks, but it's designed for you to do your best work. You've got to allocate the key things within these blocks to get the best and the most out of your life's work, efficiently and consistently. When you have this system, you don't have to think about what I'm doing where. You know that in my deep work block, these are the list of activities that fits in that block only. It's a non-negotiable. There's no meetings that happen in the block. It's all laser-focused work. Shallow work is I do this year. You got some gaps in between, some sales calls. I leave that for some sales calls. Sometimes I'll open up some blocks within my deep work block for a sales call, because that is a high value activity. Somebody showing interest in my coaching, or has raised their hands, I need to engage with them. So I'll use that time. Again, my calendar, I had to shrink it a little bit. I couldn't quite get all of it in, but this is kind of what my calendar looks like. If you schedule it, you'll do it. A lot of these things I don't have to think about, because it's autopilot for me. I do this pretty simple. And then I've got gaps in between to accommodate for some sales calls, client onboarding. I leave that flexible. But for the greater part, my average working time is 6 hours. Then I'll have a bit of a gap. Family. Pretty simple, basic, but it allows me to operate efficiently. I have line of sight of what I'm doing every day, every week. So what's all this fuss about? What's the whole idea around all of that? It's to control your agenda, because you're in charge. You eliminate procrastination because you know exactly what you're doing where. You don't have to think about it. You've scheduled it. You are focused on high value tasks, the things that moves your business forward, that allows you to make more of an impact, that makes the 20K and the 30K and the 50K. Because you've scheduled it, you've planned it, you know where it's happening. No guesswork. You've got energy levels that keeps you going, because you've taken care of yourself when you started off the day in the morning. Whether you're going for a walk, whether you're going for a workout at the gym, but you're doing something to get the happy endorphins going. That allows you to deal with the stress for the day. You build mental resilience because you've got control of what you're doing every single day. You're sleeping well. You're making sure that you get to bed at a reasonable time. You get enough hours. The mind is clear. There's no brain fog. There's none of that bullshit. You are perfectly fine. And then, of course, you're in alignment with your goal because your daily process goals make sense. It links up to where you want to be, not this. You can't do 4-figure habits and expect to make 6-7 figures. It's virtually impossible. So goal alignment is vital. So if you schedule it, you structure it, it's there. We're concluding shortly. And so what's the goal really? The goal is for you to be clear on your performance strategy. Take stock of what you're doing and where you want to be and make sure that the dots connect. That goes into your current situation versus your desired situation. If they're not matching up, you got to look again. Because you're going to continuously have this hit and miss. And what happens is you start looking around. Let me just check another strategy. Let me go through to another masterclass, or let me download another PDF. You're going to start hopping around. That's the mistake that most are doing these days. I was guilty of that too. That is why I do what I do. You want to optimize performance for high output. It starts off as a routine and it eventually becomes a habit. You want to look at your environment and make sure that your environment is supportive of what you're trying to achieve. Internal and external. So you got to take stock internally and you're going to look at your external environment. Your desk, is it busy? Is it full of stuff? You're going to clean it all up, make it nice and clean and neat. Psychologically, it has an impact on how you behave and how you think, weirdly enough. You got to find tools that helps you perform better. So look at little tools that help you optimize what you do on a daily basis. Things that help you move faster. Develop your mindset so that you find yourself on the high end of the continuum of a growth mindset. That means always looking for ways to improve, always looking for ways to get people to help you move faster and move faster and move forward. Don't sit and be stuck in your own little zone and say, you know what, I'm going to try and figure this out, because the trial and error approach, the figure this out on my own approach, the strategy to strategy approach, and the list goes on, does not serve anybody any good. You're just spinning your wheels. You got to get yourself into the flow state. The flow state means you love what you do, not to say that you don't, but you're in such a zone that everything you do is just so much fun. It just all works like clockwork. And the only way to get into the flow state is to build the base, get the base going, and then you just plug in where each activity needs to go at its required time, where you are at your best, where you are making more of an impact. And that's really what it comes down to. Control, line of sight, flow state, having fun, making more of an impact in the zone, making lots of money, traveling the world, having options, taking care of your family, whatever that might be for you. But the top 1%, these are the kind of things that they work on every day. This has allowed them to have the control and the successes that they've achieved. So at the end of the day, we all want to become the master of our health, our wealth, and our relationships. That's me, guys. Do you have any questions?
All right. I love that. Yeah. So like Farouk mentioned, if anybody has any questions right now, whatsoever, Marvin or Els, based on, your specific scenario, obviously Farouk won't be able to unpackage every single thing going on for you, but I definitely think it would be beneficial for you to take advantage right now in this moment to pick his brain, maybe just kind of give you some sort of like high level or very like, real quick action or needle moving insight that would be beneficial to the both of you, because I think each of you, myself included, we're all here because we are looking to improve and level up. We value, investing in ourselves, growing ourselves, staying in a position where we're like, okay, let me do a quick audit. I recognize this isn't working for my business, or I'm recognizing that I'm not really getting a whole lot of, you know, input or feedback or engagement on my content, or for some reason it seems like nobody's replying to this type of message or something, or I don't like doing cold DMs. So what do I need to do differently, right? So I definitely want to advocate that whatever it is that's going on for you, you would put inside of the chat. Um, Something that you mentioned, Farouk, that really stood out to me that you kept talking about
Yes.
was about, and so you didn't say this specifically, but the component I was gleaning that you kept mentioning was optimization and workflow, right? And time management. And I would have to say that um, I think it's definitely something that's missing from pretty much every single course and program I've gone through. I've been through all of them, that you've seen ads for. So I've gone through the Elite CEOs next level training. I think that one's like 70 or 75K. Michael Chu's LTV accelerator, it's like 50 grand or something. I even went through, he now works with Sales Sniper, but the guy Spencer Burnett, and he essentially that's his whole thing, like Zone of Genius, workflow optimization. He charges roughly around the same, like 50 or 70 grand. And I just wanted to share my screen briefly because out of all the programs, right? Like you're gonna find, just like Farouk mentioned, you're gonna find that maybe not everything under the sun in that one program works for you, right? But it's a model. And so you're going to extract from that model and the frameworks that suit you, that benefit your life, or the business framework that you currently are doing. And so I wanted to show you guys my calendar here because I've pivoted to a model since we recently, moved to a new office. We're growing the business and scaling, and I actually don't have to take sales calls anymore. I only do the, support for clients. And so I'm really excited because you can tell right here, this is next week, and I already know how I'm spending when it's regarding the business. I already know where my time is going. I already am in control of and know, okay, this is what's going to be lead generation related, or when I need to, kind of like take a look at the inbox and give some insight or some feedback. This is my mentor. So I've already reinvested into myself and I've carved out space for me to continue growing, right? And so ultimately, I just kind of want to use that to parallel what Farouk is mentioning, that if you're a coach and you don't have a coach, or you don't, you haven't done something to level up, maybe you're not in a position where you can do that in this exact moment, but don't use that as the reason for why you stay stuck, right? Yeah. There are books, and maybe there is a free mini course out there that you probably, did something in exchange to have access to it, and you haven't even used it. Okay, well, now you've got to make that commitment to yourself. I'm going to go use that course. I'm going to go adhere to those strategies and follow through with that, and put that on your calendar, block it out in those 4 chunks like Farouk mentioned. Because here's the thing that nobody says that I wish I had learned a lot sooner. When you don't have control of your time, you will have chaos. And the chaos that you have in your regular life, with your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever, with your kids, it bleeds into your business. And as Farouk just stated, you can't have 4-figure habits and expect to make 100K, 80K, 50K, whatever the number is, right? We are the mirror for clients. So whoever you are showing up as right now, that's what you're going to attract. And so if you want people to pay you 2 grand, 5 grand, 10 grand, 8 grand, whatever the number is, right? You want people to pay attention to you, then you have to do that for yourself first, right? So hopefully that's all making sense. Can I get a 1 in the chat? Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. If I could get a 1 in the chat, if this was helpful to you, if you learned at least one thing. And I'm super excited. You know, Farouk, thank you so much for being here, brother. I know you're going to have to hop off right now. So,
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I got about like
I,
5 minutes.
oh, okay. Okay. Wonderful. I did have one question for you, specifically.
Sure.
And I think it'll benefit our community. You know, a couple of our members obviously are not able to be here because, as you know, when you're like running a challenge or a masterclass or a live event, and Els and Marvin, if you haven't run one before, then this and you want to, this is just insight for you. You are going to have, you know, multiple people sign up for something or say they're going to commit to something and they might not follow through, and that's just because that's where they're at right now in their life. Okay.
It's not on
It
you.
doesn't, it's nothing about you. Yeah, exactly. Like we had well over 10 people, you know, decide that they were going to show up and then
And
they're
that's
not
okay.
here, right? It's two of you. And yeah, but that's the thing, right? That's the thing about life. To be the top 1%, you can't do what the other 99% are doing. And so I just want to say you guys are doing amazing here. This is my question for you, Farouk. And so I think it's
Sure.
going to help our attendees and anybody who watches the replay here. What do you consider to be deep work? How do you qualify if that's busy work or no, actually that's going to be the thing that moves the needle? Let me plop it in the deep work bucket.
Yeah.
What do
So
you feel?
for me, it's two things, right? One is your content, because that is where you communicate who you are, what you do, how you do it, etc. That area. Because at the end of the day, I always, when I start my day or when I'm about to write content, I ask myself a very simple question. Am I giving enough reasons to my ideal audience, the people in my ecosystem, to consider my services, to consider me to help them solve their problem? And that's what you're going to do through content. Omnipresence is vital, so you need to post. I post daily. Monday to Friday, I'll post. Saturday and Sunday, I'll keep it casual, so I get people to get to know who I am. They see some stuff about my family, and they get to see me as a person. I do a bit of videos in between as well, so they get a bit of a sense of who's this guy, his body language, his tone, you know, all of that kind of stuff. Not an ugly face behind the screen, but somebody real. And the other thing is in connecting with people, talking with people, because that is your chance to get somebody to on a call, to then have a further deep discussion and to work out, hey, I may be able to help you with that, or actually, I'm not in a position to help you. But you've had an opportunity to engage with somebody. The more you have of those kind of opportunities, the higher the chances you'll get to 20, 30, 50, and 100K. But again, it's all about human connections. If you're not spending enough time, and that for me is deep work. That's deep work. I'm talking to people. I have a chance to get somebody onto a call, and I get to have a chance to get somebody to serve.
I love that. I also, I think that's beautiful. I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of what you
Yeah.
just mentioned. I also would consider, so as you guys saw when I shared my screen, I would say that content definitely has been the big needle mover for me. And while I have played around with, you know, posting every day, doing the 3 times a day, do
No, just
stories
once.
8 times a day, etc. Yeah, exactly. I've played around with all of those. And I would have to agree that posting at least once at a minimum is a wonderful start or a wonderful micro commitment. You know, in my program model, it's not all that different regarding the structure workflow wise
Yeah.
for yourself. And that definitely is going to be something that I would say, you know, is good for all of us to evaluate for ourselves and just kind of extract the ego, right? And say, am I showing up as my best self? Am I modeling for whoever it is that I want to pay me 2 grand to 10 grand? Am I showing them not only that I'm the expert, right? But that I'm reliable, that I'm consistent, that I'm walking the walk and talking the talk. So Marvin, this would definitely be helpful to you, right? Because you're looking to attract your ideal client. You're using physical wellness essentially, and you know, nutrition and all of those components. And so I understand that you're short on time, obviously. Maybe there are some things that you can batch out that are going to be helpful to your ideal client to recognize, oh, this guy's showing up, he's giving me value, but also how you're doing that and maybe your day to day. And so it doesn't have to be in this like perfect, you've got a beautiful background, obviously. It doesn't have to be in this structured environment. You could be like walking to the store and filming yourself, And Elle, same thing. It doesn't, I understand that your avatar is like a little bit different personality type, right? But I think it would be wonderful for you to let yourself also kind of let loose, because you have this wonderful like energy about you, and it doesn't have to always be this like stuffy, corporate vibe, you know what I mean? And so I want to encourage that we both, all three of us, all four of us, would absolutely be willing to kind of like not be the perfectionist, because that's self-sabotaging behavior. We just got to like do the work and just show up, Marvin says, I did host a free training as well in my group, had about 200 people committed to attend, but only 20 showed up. Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. But that's how it works. And you know what? Again, it's not a reflection of you. Another thing too is that not everybody knows how to balance their time. And so maybe these people are, in fact, they're really interested. They are genuinely committed. And then life happens or something. And they're like, oh, shoot. And it's all about priority management. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Farouk, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you.